Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. People are just coming in there now, so we'll give them a minute. So thank you for joining us. My name is Keelan Burke. I'm with Retail Excellence. And this morning we're going to do a webinar on cybersecurity and how to protect your business in an ever-changing environment. Very much a hot topic at the minute. A lot of members coming in with queries and questions. And so if you do have any questions you want to ask, feel free to put them into the Q&A box there or the chat box at the top. So today I am going to introduce you to Ruth Marden and Brian Fitzpatrick of EKCO MSP. Formerly, some of you may have known Radius Technologies, who's a partner of ours, have merged into EKCO MSP, which is their new name. So delighted to welcome them today and introduce them under their new company. So maybe without further ado, I know there's one or two people still joining there. I might bring Brian and Ruth on there now, and they can introduce themselves properly as well, and we can then get the ball moving.
Morning, Keelan. How are you doing?
Thanks, Brian.
Morning.
Great to be on.
Great, super. Do you want to give maybe a bit of background to yourselves both, just for everyone before we kick off?
Sure, no problem, Keelan. I'm the sales director in EKCO MSP, and the MSP part stands for Managed Service Provider, and we're focused on everything got to do with IT from your internet, into your network, into your firewalls, your switches, that whole end into looking after your PCs, your email, and everything got to do with your cyber protection. So we do everything end to end. So we're a full outsourced IT department as such. And as you said, EKCO MSP is made up of a couple of companies that have come together. Ortus was one previously, and then Radius. So now we're now acting together as one, and it's been a great couple of years as we've been coming together as a team. And the good news is it's a really good culture fit between the two of us. So it's been great, and I've got to know Ruth over the last year, which has been a bit of fun as well. So hopefully we'll have a bit of fun today with this as well. We'll try and give everyone not death by PowerPoint, but real practical examples out of it, and we will chat through what our life has been dealing with the other side of things, dealing with cyber instances. So Ruth, I'll hand it to you.
I'm Ruth. I'm a key account manager for EKCO MSP, previously with Radius. So I've been dealing with retail excellence probably for the last 3 years, dealing with Keelan. So we've known each other, about 3 years now. I work with quite a few retailers. So I do have some experience in that field and assisting them with their IT solutions and their cybersecurity. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thanks, Ruth.
Yeah.
Super. So Brian, I'll let you start away there.
Perfect. Thanks, Keelan. Yeah. So everybody, bit of a promise we give you where we won't put you to sleep properly today. We'll tell you lots of stories about things and that we've encountered over the last years protecting people, and some things we've had to react to as well. We're also going to have a little bit of fun with ourselves. We're not scared to take the mick out of ourselves a little bit, but we've done it for a very particular reason, using AI, because we want to talk about how the threats of AI that's going to come your way very soon. So we've done a little bit of fun with our own pictures of ourselves in a couple of seconds. So if you stay tuned, you'll see that, and you have a good laugh at us there. But the other parties, Keelan's managed to twist our arms around our back and give everyone an opportunity to get some free stuff out of us, some free services.
Yeah, so Keelan's very persuasive.
He can be when he wants to be, all right. So basically, if you stay tuned to the end, just to hook you guys all in, there's a bit of a laugh going to happen, and then there's going to be something really good that you can take avail of for your businesses. So let's get cracking into it. We're going to have a look at about seven areas. We're going to look at the current threat landscape, what's actually happening out there. We're going to look at the attack surface. So how are they attacking? What are they attacking? Then we're going to look at the top cyber threats and see around like what ways are they actually attacking people, what technology are they using. Then we're going to look at some protection gaps that are out there, defending against those threats. So then we're going to start to get really practical. And again, we'll keep this very practical of how easy steps that people can take. And what is really important to remember throughout all of this, hopefully half an hour, 35 minutes, is that there's lots of action everyone can take here. They're actually pretty simple, fundamental IT actions that you can put in place to actually protect yourself really easily. So again, compliance is a pain in one sense, but it does bring about trust, and it does bring about a protection level. So you have to embrace it. So if you have to be on board with it, you may as well and use it to then actually protect yourself. And then some practical key takeaways. So right, we'll flow straight into the threat landscape, and what we can see is that this data 24%, it's pertaining to the amount of retail that is being attacked. So it says retail is a target of 24% of all cyber attacks, making it one of the most frequently attacked sectors. Like I think it's clear to see in the particularly last 2 or 3 years, that because of the sensitive data that you guys hold, particularly your e-commerce platforms, that that's a very juicy target for people, for cyber attackers to go after. So they're probing it even further, and they're looking for weaknesses, and they're doing it in even smarter ways. And we're going to go through them as we go through the presentation. Again, an overall number is that 49% of Irish businesses reported experienced a cyber attack in the last 12 months. So I personally feel like that number is incorrect. It's much higher. The reason why it is higher, in my opinion, is that myself and Ruth would have experienced that a lot of people actually get attacked and they don't ever report it. So this number for me is a false number, because some people take the choice not to report it because they don't want to get into the whole compliance, the data protection commissioner scenario, and they don't want to lose their reputation. So they may deal with it in behind closed doors and never report it. So, but even at that, that's quite a large number. And we're dealing with it on the ground day to day. Our help desk is dealing with it day to day. And we see quite a few attacks every week. So but the good news is it's very preventable with some easy practical things to implement. Then the financial losses. So of those 49%, 90% of them, they get a large financial loss. Either it's through downtime, or it's actually through people getting into the system and possibly taking data out, or using things like ransomware to hit your network or your servers and bring everything offline, and then you have to pay a ransom. It's not so much that these days. It's mostly phishing attacks. About 95% of the things that happen are phishing attacks. The other side, which is the e-commerce websites and how they're being attacked, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides. So there's some interesting stats. Ruth, you might have a chat through some of these headlines.
Yes, I'm sure everybody's seen the headlines on M&S and Jaguar being cyber attacked. Just a little bit on M&S. They gained access through a third party, and they used something called social engineering. And what they did was they impersonated someone and tricked a staff member into changing the security credentials and getting in. What amazes me, though, is there is a syndicate, the cyber criminal syndicate out there, that attacked M&S. They also attacked the Co-op Group in the UK. They call themselves the Scattered Spider. I think it sounds like a villain from a spy movie.
It's a bit James Bondy, that one, Ruth, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I was like, sounds like a villain. But yes, Jaguar, I mean, look, they lost substantial money under the attack, and having to bring their e-commerce site down, which is just financially crippling, and would be for a smaller retailer like the type that we have on this webinar. Also, Jaguar were affected as well. We know they were in the news as well. The worst part for them was they tampered with their production controls. They're not saying how the cyber criminal got in. They're keeping very, very quiet about it. So we're not actually 100% sure how they got access, but also they lost millions in this. So yeah, you just have to be so vigilant and proactive. And then we look.
they're the big headline ones though, Ruth, aren't they? And
They
you
are.
know, I guess the ones like when we look at here in the next slide, that like you know, all these people, what we can see a trend is that they're all headline names that everyone knows about, and you'd expect to have IT departments of probably anywhere from 20 to 60 people in them, and a lot of controls around it. So even the largest ones are getting done. I suppose they are a bit more of a target, but they would also have much larger budgets. But I think what you fundamentally find is that it's actually still the simple things that they're getting got caught out on. Again, the basic cyber hygiene, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these are brands that we all know, right? Me being an online shopper of note.
I'd say you are,
um,
Ruth, yeah. I'd say you're a heavy one.
and shopping for possibly Adidas, North Face. I know that you like Victoria's Secret yourself, Brian.
Easy now.
So,
I'll
and
go there.
yeah, the thought of someone getting my details once they've been hacked is quite frightening, because obviously I'm vigilant and I do understand what to click on and what not to click on. But there might very well be a customer out there that doesn't and might get caught out.
Absolutely fair enough. I suppose then if we roll into just having a chat around compliance, and it's the dreaded compliance rules and regulations and red tape that often, you know, a lot of people on here, business owners are
PCI
consumed by.
compliance is a big
Yeah.
one for retailers, very important. You're taking payments, card payments on a daily basis.
And I'm sure a lot of people on the call as well have had to deal with situations, obviously, with cards being skimmed, or somehow your PCI going wrong for you, or when they actually run tests against your PCI setup that you're actually not compliant, then you have to remedy it. It can be obviously quite painful, but nothing compares to actually someone coming into your shop and using a card and it going wrong and getting sucked into that vortex of everything got to do with having to report it, deal with the customer, reputational damage. So again, embracing the compliance and getting ahead of it and being proactive and running tests against your PCI setup is important, because ultimately what we're speaking about a lot here is that situations where people come into your shop and your systems are down for whatever reason, potentially, or your terminals aren't working, then what's the customer going to do? They're going to go next door. It's going to go into your website. It's the same thing.
And also being breached. I mean, no retailer nowadays can afford to have to pay for compensation claims if it's your fault because you didn't have that proactive system in place. Legal fees, litigation to be pulled into that, a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and look, what we've dealt with over the last, especially since 2018 and GDPR came coming in hard, is that what we found is a lot of things are very practical that they're looking for you to have in place, and easy to actually easy to roll out. But I guess what you're looking for is dealing with someone who can guide you towards those practical things and be proactive about advising about the risks that you have, and then constantly making sure that those risks are being reduced. What we do is we've a program called Alignment, where we've got a team of engineers that go out to all of our sites with checklists to make sure that you actually stay in alignment to where things are, to where you should be at. For example, when I go and visit potential new customers, the amount of time we walk in the door and see old servers there with old operating systems, with
absolutely old point of sale systems.
Yeah. Yeah, and they work and they're working away, they're chugging
That's
along,
right.
and your business is running. You've got a million other things to consider. But without doubt, you would definitely lock up the shop. You would definitely put the alarm on. You CCTV everywhere.
That's
So you're
correct.
making sure those security is right. So the thing that fundamentally really runs the business and keeps it going, investing in that and making sure that you're partnered with someone who's going to keep you aligned to a set of standards and help you to be by design compliant with what standards they're going to put onto your IT setup. That would be a great way to be in a very proactive way as opposed to reactive. And we all hate living in the reactive world, and that's why we've created a very proactive service. I suppose the other thing is then, the fines that do come about, haven't seen it happen. It's not really what the DPC is about. What they do look for you at that Apex Commissioner, if you do have to report yourself for an incident, is they look to see that you're on a journey, on a roadmap to actually being compliant.
That's
And
right. What preventative measures did you put in place? 100%.
And they also recognize that everyone can get there straight away. You have financial constraints, but they do want you to definitely acknowledge the fact that if you are sucking in data that is really critical stuff, obviously
it's very
customer payment
sensitive
stuff,
data. Customer data is very sensitive.
you're protecting it right. And what we're going to speak about in a while is talking about the rise of third-party vendors that you're relying on and their systems being hacked. And it's really that is the part that now comes on you as a responsible person who's got the engagement with the customer, that the vendor platforms that you're using to provide that service, and you've handed over that responsibility to manage those transactions or host your website with all your customer details on. It's on you to make sure that those platforms are good. But good news is we haven't seen crazy fines coming anyone's way. They're being quite lenient, but the reality is that they had 40, 50 people in Port Ireton. Back in 2018, they've over 250, 300 now up in Dublin. It's a different beast. It is quite focused on, the Facebooks and the Metas, but they've done their business with them and they're moving back down the chain. So yeah, that's all quite scary stuff. But if you embrace compliance, ultimately it can lead to it being safe, secure, and you staying up and you staying productive, and those tills keep ringing. Okay, Ruth, so we might just have a look at the threat landscape and what's driving the surge in those attacks on retailers, that 24% number. So why are people actually, why are those hackers trying to target the retail sector? I'll let you take this one.
Valuable customer data, of course. Most retailers are running e-commerce sites now, so you're collecting customer data there. Also, a lot are running loyalty programs where you're collecting customer data, right? So there's a lot of sensitive data, which is very attractive to cyber criminals. So let's be honest, that's what they want. They can make a huge impact in your business and to your business by gaining that information. Then yes, the rise in e-commerce sites. I think since COVID, that's become a big thing, right? Everybody's running an e-commerce site now. And I know, like I said, personally, I'm an online shopper, so I love it. I want to make sure that my transactions are protected by whatever third-party pay portal is set up to integrate with that point of sale and e-commerce system. I want to make sure that all the details that I'm capturing are going to be safe as a customer. It's very, very important. And then complex supply chain, third-party vendors, integrations. We know that a lot of times you're, as a retailer, is running a ERP system in the background, and they're integrating to a point-of-sale system, integrating to a payment portal or a credit card machine. And are these third-party vendors up to date with where they should be from a security perspective? Are they updating on a regular basis the software that's running on the point of sale system? Are they compliant? Again, PCI compliance, but are they compliant on the back end? Is it possible for somebody to get through to your system through a third party supply chain? It can happen. It has happened. So very important to look into that. Evolving attack methods. Hackers are using advanced tools now. They're using new hacking methods and bypassing defenses. AI is a big one, right? Brian, we were talking about it today. AI is huge with every industry at the moment, and how they're getting past systems. What they do is they'll go in and hunt and see where they can find those gaps behind a firewall, behind a website, on a network, a local network. They could have access to an employee's personal device. They come into the store, connect to a Wi-Fi that isn't separated from the business Wi-Fi, and you don't have a guest Wi-Fi. Quick and easy for malware to be on a personal email and for someone to click on that and for them to be getting access to your network.
Yeah, look, I think a really interesting one is now where, if they get the chance to take over your platform, once they get into it, your e-commerce one, they then using AI tools are able to scrape that entire website, grab it, and very quickly spin it up.
That's right.
Go into your customer database, grab out all their email addresses, send them out an email pretending to be you guys. point them then to a link back into that website.
It could be
and
using
then,
a promotion
yeah, user
just to
promotion,
get them
yeah.
to click on the link. Yeah.
But there is no people behind that. It's an automated bot that does it. Once it finds the website with the vulnerability, the next steps are all pre-programmed out and scripted, and boom, it'll do it and flash it up. So there are some technologies out there to guard against that, but there's also very simple, practical steps to make sure that your platforms are secure. A lot of people here might have over the last, especially picking up COVID, handed over a lot of responsibility of this into web developers, and they may be guys at different types of levels, but it doesn't matter, as we've seen easier before, what levels you're at, whether you're the biggest of the biggest in your Land Rover or whether you're small to medium business. The simple things can get breached and get hacked if you're not actually testing. So we need to make sure that we're testing those platforms with a thing called a pen test, which is a penetration test, where you actually get a what's called a white hat hacker, which is a good hacker employed by a security firm to actually try and hack the website preferably on a monthly basis, but on a quarterly basis, and make sure that it's still safe and secure. So I suppose, looking at this a little bit further on the attack surface route, they're really zoning in on those e-commerce systems, and we spoke a lot about that already. The point of sale ones, I think it's a bugbear for you as you go around. You see a lot of old point of sales around.
And if software is not updated on a regular basis, we find that USB ports are not locked down, and a staff member might actually plug a USB device in, and there could be malware on their device and they're not even aware of it. Unfortunately, those things do happen, and they happen really quickly.
And it's easy because things are working.
That's right. So if you're proactive, you would just, from our perspective as an MSP, we would guard against all those things and advise against all those things way in advance. The fact that you would have a separate VLAN for your staff or your guests on your network, Wi-Fi or other, to make sure that nobody had access to your network other than your corporate devices.
So this is the big one, employees. Speak about that one, Ruth.
Yeah, employees, educating employees is so important. Often it's a store manager that gets an email in that looks like it's from a director or accounts department requesting a payment, anything like that. These things happen so quickly. So cyber awareness training for staff is so critical now. Very, very critical.
I'd say we could probably just talk the rest of the webinar just about the employees and training them, but a little bit I'll give a few examples here, because this is 95% of what we see is the social engineering, mostly around the emails that come in.
That's
so
right.
The ones that we've seen recently, which is where they're scraping LinkedIn, where people have changed to a different company. So they've scraped and they've found that, oh, I've started a new position. And then they will target those people because they're the weakest people in your organization, where they haven't been trained right, or they're most susceptible to being engineered to get an email from someone saying, hey, can you do something for me within the business? And they want to impress someone, or they'll do something pretty quickly. That's the one that we've seen pop up now in the last 4 months, which has been quite a good wave from a social engineering point of view. So when those employees come on board, you want to make sure that they get a welcome email into the environment and they're trained straight away. They're sent a link to a training platform, and you set the tone and you protect them, because basically when you let them loose in your environment, well, you need to make sure to have them trained. Otherwise, they could do something very silly very quickly. And also, they're targeting you at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon saying, hey, I need this payment now. And then a lot of impersonation of emails is what's coming on, that they're able to spoof other people's email addresses, pretend that they're someone else, and get them to make payments. So we could talk about that all day long, but the people, without doubt, actually are the biggest risk that we've seen in the last 5 years. So again, corporate networks, we might talk about splitting that out a bit, Ruth, and then the normal levels of protection people should have in place.
Yeah, as we spoke, it's just networks, making sure that you have a separate network for any guests coming into your store. Or restaurant, hotels, all the same thing. Guest networks, separate networks. Allow your staff to connect to guest networks with their personal devices and not onto corporate devices, because you never know what are on those devices. You just never know. So yes, ideally that's what you want to do. You want to be able to do penetration tests on your actual network. That's where we would come in again, and we would check if there were any gaps. Is there anything open? Is your firewall up to date? Is it giving you the protection that you need? Those are all things that pertain to your network, right?
And then I suppose like the rise of the third party vendor scenario, they don't
Yes.
attack you, they attack your someone that you've handed over the processing of payments to, or that you've got a piece of software sitting linking things in between, whether it's a point of
That's
sale
right.
into a financial system, into a CRM system, into an e-commerce platform, whatever it may be. It's these actual third parties that once they attack them and they get access to them,
They get
then
access.
they get back down into you. And that has been the real chain of events between third party vendors being hacked and employees. They're my top two personally.
Yeah.
It's not so
Absolutely.
much the corporate network scenario, it's a bit of it, but not so much. And the e-commerce systems, they're fairly well protected by good proper platforms. But yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say they're the top ones. So Ruth, if we move on, just having a look then on the practical real things that we see them actually executing on
Yeah.
networks. So ransomware, it's not so much, but when it does happen, it's bloody devastating, because if you don't have proper backups and you haven't tested those backups, then you're really on a wing and repair of how long it would take you to recover back from a ransomware event. And mostly what they do in that situation is they're going to encrypt your hard drives on your servers or your PCs, and then on the server, if you've got a local backup, they'll hop onto the local backup like a little USB storage device, and they'll encrypt that as well. So if you don't have an offsite backup, and they're what's called immutable, which means that the two cannot join. They're segmented, then you can be in a lot of trouble there. Not so much of that going on, but the tools that you should have in place is things called XDR, EDR. So in our world, an MDR, managed endpoint protection.
Yeah.
So through
That
particularly
tends to
Microsoft.
be, sorry, Brian, that tends to be more, we've noticed that it would be in the medical industry, dealing with GPs, because they have medical files, they lock them down, and once they don't have access, they've actually got to pay for that. If they don't have those precautions in place, they actually, what do
Yeah.
they do? If you're sitting in front of them, they don't have any of your medical history, just as an example. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of bigger firms will actually have Bitcoin on hand, stored up ready to go to pay out for when there's part of disaster recovery plan to pay out. Again, small to medium businesses won't have those precautions in place, so it's important that your backups are what's called immutable. They're stored in another system outside, away from your server, and they're secure. So at least you can get back from it. Sure, you might be a day offline, but you can get back. But then you also got to figure it out at what point did they get in and how far did they get, because you could be restoring backups, which could be bad as well. So but without doubt, you need to make sure to have them in place. The point of sale malware, bits and pieces of devices where they're kind of on uncontrolled or older operating systems, or they don't have
Generally
proper
on the
antivirus
older
in place.
operating systems that they get access, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one, I suppose, is around phishing attacks. It's the number one. And training the staff is important, but also having good levels of spam protection, good filtering on your emails is really important. The supply chain, we spoke about it already. We're not going to go through that again. But the AI powered fraud, yeah, I mean, like, we're just on the cusp now of AI turning into something that we're all not quite ready for, and we're all not sure what way it's going to turn. Where machines now, through the different type of whether it's agentic AI or generative, it's more agentic in this point, where it's starting to really learn and understand systems and make actions itself. And then we will never be ahead of the way the organized crime is and the way it's going to use those tools. So what's important is that you're fighting that with tools, AI tools yourselves. So what we use ourselves is a technology called SOC and SIEM. And what that talks about is taking in all the logs from all the systems that you use, with your PCs, your laptops, your firewalls, your switches, your servers, and their Office 365 environment, for example, and starts to learn what's normal about your environment. And what's not normal would be, for example, someone to log into the environment at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night and start deleting 2,000 files and install a little application. That event would then trigger to our SOC, and the SOC is Security Operations Center.
Or sorry, Brian, from another location.
Yeah, absolutely. Location-based control. But the events go into what's called a SOC, and that SOC is running 24/7, and they'll say, right, an unusual event has happened here. Is that real or is it a possible attack? If it's an attack, lock down the PC, lock down the user, and then deal with it from there. That way it hasn't spread. But you have to have the technology in place to be analyzing the events to know whether they're fake or whether they're real, and to get the alerts that actually go to a human being, or sometimes it is actually automated, and stop the spread of it. You may have been hacked, you may have been breached, but it hasn't got much further. You haven't been ransomware, you haven't been taken down. And so their technology is there, and it's not as like kind of expensive and prohibitive as what it used to be 3 or 4 years ago. It's actually coming down and down as more vendors come into that sector. So AI power fraud, and the ways to deal with it, there is technology out there to handle it. So you might run through some of these percentages here, Ruth, around the gaps and basic stuff.
So 50%, 7% of Irish retailers don't regularly update their software. I've seen this myself, so it does happen. And I know, yes, it's very time confusing. It disrupts business. So I understand and I get it. It could also be a cost thing, but unfortunately, it does leave you vulnerable. 51% don't perform regular automated backups. Again, it needs to be done after hours. It needs to be set up by your MSP. It needs to be done on a regular basis. It often doesn't get done. 39%, only 39% provide cybersecurity awareness training to their staff. I can believe that as well. I can believe it.
I thought that would be lower, actually.
Because staff turnover is pretty high in retail as well, let's be honest. It's still important to do that training with them and for them to understand. And despite this, 92% believe that they're adequately protected. Big disconnect between perception and preparedness. There is a big disconnect.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it hasn't happened to you, then you kind of can float along thinking we're okay. And there is so much other things going on in the business where you're trying to, you're paying rates, you're paying rents, you're paying staff, you're dealing with staff issues, you're dealing with distributors, you're dealing with suppliers, you're dealing with so many people that if things are just running, you can get into a bit of a malaise if you're not partnered with someone who's kind of proactive and coming at you and pushing you on a bit and saying, where are you with this, where are this? Here's your risks. What are you going to do about it? Here's the high ones, medium, low ones, and create a bit of a roadmap and a strategy. But yeah, like, I mean, one of the ones around the backups is, guys, I can't impress enough upon you that if you are doing backups and say you're doing them yourselves, you go into the server on a Friday evening, last thing, and before you leave work in the week, of course, you guys are running 7 days a week. You perform the backup, and then you leave it there attached to the same device.
They should be doing daily backups every evening because there's transactions involved, Brian. There's transactions every night. Those should be doing backups.
Absolutely, and it needs to go off site. It needs to go up into the cloud, away from your site, because God forbid anything should happen on site or the devices on site get ransomware. So just some easy tips there. So I suppose, look, that disconnect is an important thing to bring up. So, right, how do we defend against this stuff? I guess from the base layer up, if we always look at it from the shop front, the retail entity, the network itself, you need to isolate it. So if you've got wireless connections, you should have a staff and a guest one, and if you log into the guest one, you can't get into the staff network. Easy to do. If you have some monitoring in place around the network to make sure that things are staying up and the broadband stays up, so you still have connections, you should have 2 broadband connections. But segmenting out that network away from the CCTV, that is also another risk if that's not protected properly. Your wireless, and then your actual local network, which is where all your PCs, your laptops, your point of sales are connected. Segmenting them up and that things can't connect to each other helps that if there ever is a breach, that people can't move from one net segment to another. So for example, your CCTV, it's open because you guys have got apps on your phones where you're connecting back into the shop. Well, it has to be open on a port on the firewall, and that's the thing that they try and exploit. So they get into CCTV onto the network, then they can float between the other parts of the network. So segmenting it, again, it's actually quite simple to do. Bit of a project, but it's proper hygiene in regard to your network. The security solutions that are out there, the obvious stuff, everything that needs to be patched, needs to be patched within time. Again, red alert for everyone here. I'm sure you're fairly aware of Windows 10 is coming end of life in October. So you need to be planning for any of those devices that can't move up to Windows 11 to be replaced. Or you can put a license on it to extend it out for a little bit longer. But mostly the ones that can't actually upgrade are probably old, and you should be getting rid of them anyway. You should obviously have analysis tools that just alert some simple stuff around potential breaches on the network or unusual behavior. And look, if there is an incident, you have some sort of a plan around what would happen, who would do what, where, and when, what your IT partner would do, or what you would do yourselves. Have a plan for making sure that at least we know the backups work. Just do that alone, and whatever else happens after that, in regards there's an incident. But we need to make sure that we can get back online, get back productive, and the tills get back ringing really quickly because the backups are working. So we need to be testing those backups, training the staff. Look, I mean, we've talked about it loads of times this, and we've deliberately repeated it because it couldn't be anything more important than simply sending out some online platform that you go in, click on a link, and trains your staff for you, and you get a notification saying they're trained, they're good, and you can sleep at night knowing, hey, those guys are at a certain level, and you've reduced the risk of them clicking on something and bringing you down. And then ultimately, I would say some expert support. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone and go, look, hey, can you come in and do a bit of a review of my setup? Tell me where we're at. Tell me where my risks are. Maybe talk to a few people and let them at it. They'll go and come back with a report, sit down for probably only take an hour and give you your high level risks. So I suppose ultimately coming down to back around to the dreaded compliance part, embracing it, Ruth. What do you think around selling it to the guys here? Compliance is good. I'm sure they know it, but it's
building. It does build customer trust, right? It shows your commitment to data protection. Very, very important. I mean, I just the scenario of someone breaching into your system, getting your customer information, those deepfake sites, creating a site, sending that link. The customer then clicks on that link, purchases something, never ever receives the product, but they've parted with their money. They've now associated that with your brand. And no matter what kind of communication you send out, that's you, that's your brand. It's gone. Your reputation is destroyed. So compliance, very, very important. Make sure you're checking everything. Make sure your website is basically gap proof, your e-commerce site. Make sure that your point of sale system is locked down. Make sure that your network is locked down. Compliance regulations, obviously PCI compliance. Most card machines are PCR compliant, and I know that your integrations have to be as well. So that should be pretty much a no-brainer. Risk exposure, stronger security practices, low risk of breach, as we were talking about, operational resilience, standardizing processes, important detection, response, and recovery. I find also that a lot of, and not just retail, a lot of businesses do not have a data recovery process or disaster recovery process as a business in place, and it's something that you really need to look at.
I guess the other part is, like, if you embrace it, you get a competitive edge.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So look, I suppose we're coming up to 40 minutes in. We just want to wrap it up in regards to the key takeaways and put it down to 3 main points. I suppose looking at this is moving into that proactive mindset, but partnering with someone that has a proactive mindset that allows you to run your business, but they're coming in and driving you on with a proactive approach, saying, here's what we found, here's the risks, here's how we'd resolve them, and they're running that for you, and you can focus on your business. Make that staff training a priority. Again, this is probably the 5th time we've talked about it, so we can't be more passionate about that, because it is the people that are getting you hacked. And build that stronger layer of defense based off those couple of segments we spoke about before, in regards looking from your network to your e-commerce platform, segmentation, training. Ultimately, here's the fun part. So myself and Ruth chucked in our pictures into ChatGPT, and it was very, very generous to us, I think, Ruth. With me anyway, Ruth, you're of course fantastic, but
oh, come on.
they said to us, we said to it, look, just create a couple of superheroes in here and blocking things in the retail sector. It did that in about 6 seconds. Now, that's a platform we used that is easy to use, and we could create that. It created that for us like that, and it was actually pretty good at doing it. Imagine what the hackers are now able to do with their minds in an organized crime setting where they're trying to get a hold of your stuff. So that's what we're trying to guard against. Ultimately, to beat the hackers here, Keelan has popped on here in the last minute. This is where he gets to take the glory, having strong-armed us into this position. We want to end up in a situation where that guy is coming to your tills with his card, everything's secure, everything's protected, and we're keeping those guys away. So one of the key things around that we're going to offer here is 5 penetration tests, and that's where we'll get a good hacker, to try and attack your website or your network and come back with some results around it. And we've got five spots for that. It's probably like around 2-day engagement per one. You don't have to do anything. We just set it off and get some details and let it run, and it comes back with some professional services around it where the guys will tell you what your issues are, and you can bring it back to your website provider or your network people. But you'll be able to uncover that. So Ruth, what's the plan? How can people get one of those spots?
They can just reach out to me. My email address is here on the next slide, so they can just reach out, and we'll arrange something. I'll chat to them about what's involved, and we'll take it from there. We'll get the team to do it, and then we'll give you a full report, and we can review it afterwards, and also obviously advise you on how best to deal with it.
So whoever's on this webinar today, if you're really sharp and you've got your email in front of you and you want to do this, it's ruth.marden@ek.co. If you're on the call, you want to go for it, it's free. I take your hand off for it because they're really great reports. So I'd say your inbox might get fairly full very quickly there, Ruth. Keelan, that's us. We're going to hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Great, Brian. Fair play. Yeah, no, really interesting. Thanks, Ruth, as well. Great tag team presentation. Lots of useful information in there. I agree with you. I think there's so many old till systems about in different retailers that, making sure they're up to date and going to Windows 11, that's a big one. That's one I took away. And the separate network then for staff versus your own systems, I think that's one as well that gets missed, that everyone's just on the one network, and that's a recipe for disaster, really.
Absolutely.
So there's one question in there I saw from Peter around staff training. Brian and Ruth, have you come across any good options there? Can you do it online?
We do provide something. We have a package that we can offer Peter, and he's welcome to reach out to me via email, and we can discuss that offline as well. So yes, we do.
I'll just tell you a little bit about that. It's actually a really good one, because what it does is all your staff get it once a quarter, and it's one's based off a team called the Inside Man, and it actually follows a person, and it's set in a movie. They've actually shot it like a movie. So it makes it really more engaging for staff, where normally, like, if it's something we're going to answer a whole lot of questions and read a whole lot of documentation, they've done it in a movie setting. So people want to see what happens to this inside man. He's basically being blackmailed by organized crime. And through that, everyone gets to learn a different thing on each platform. But it's like a Netflix series. You want to see what happens to him next. So it's very smart how it does it. As a business owner, you get a report afterwards to see who's done it and not done it. And then in the event that anything was to happen and the question gets asked, and it's number one question on all the forms, are you training your staff? There's the report. Job done.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. So that's online then, Brian, is it? They can watch it?
Yeah, they watch online. So they've got every person in the organization will get an email to a link. They get
an email.
And they sign into the platform. Their training is there for them, and they'll get reminded until they do it.
Yeah.
And then the manager can log into the platform, see who's done it. So it's all very easy. You get the business owners here don't have to do a thing. It's all automated.
It's all automated, yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, worth checking out. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. I think, like, even I was just thinking of other bits and bobs as well, Brian, Ruth, like, turning on 2-factor authentication, like that's just like a no-brainer, isn't it? That a lot of people kind of miss out.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but the mobile device management, locking down the mobiles and make sure they're encrypted, make sure all the devices are encrypted, and then definitely you're right. The two-factor side of things when your e-commerce platform or when you're logging into your email, two-factor should be on everything. And if you're not getting prompted for two-factor on a platform that you're logging into now, you should ask yourself what's going on and challenge that provider, that platform. And if it asks you to turn it on, do turn it on. It will be the thing that saves your bacon 100%.
Yes.
So two-factor is absolutely critical.
And Brian, you mentioned there the device lock management. Is there something you recommend? Is there software you recommend for that, or?
Yeah, so I mean, Microsoft have quite a suite of things, and whilst we're not the biggest, we're not here to talk about different vendors.
Yeah.
It does come with your licensing. So if you're on the right license, which is Microsoft Business Premium, it comes with all this location-based access control. So if you're not in the right location, it'll lock you down. You can't access things. It'll give you mobile device management, so it encrypts the devices and make sure there's a pin on it and make sure you can remotely wipe it. And it'll also give you the two-factor authentication as well. So it all comes as part of that right license. The challenge for people is once they get on one license on Microsoft, the bump up is a bit of cash, and they've seen the value of what they actually get from it. Sometimes people struggle with that, but trust me, it'll be the best few pounds you'll ever spend.
And this is what we manage as an MSP. We manage all of that for you, and we monitor everything for you.
No, I think that's a no-brainer, Ruth, isn't it? Like, because like everyone's on a phone now, or, there's WhatsApp
100%.
groups, there's emails, there's reports coming in, and that ability to lock down a phone if it gets lost.
Absolutely, 100%. Retailers use tablets, phones, laptops. All those devices should be locked down. You should have conditional access set up on them. All those things are really, really no-brainers nowadays from a security perspective.
The other one last part we'll leave you with is coming into conditional access again, is that you could go home and if it's not set up right, set up your email account on your own tablet or on your own PC, your own laptop, and then you're pulling down all your customers, all your information onto a device that's not under any control. So what the DPC looks for you to have is a simple thing. They look for you to have control and demonstrate that you have it. But it's all there and it's available to people. Just get on the right license from Microsoft and we'll implement it and we'll manage it afterwards. You don't have you don't have to worry about it. But you need to be making sure that you're using business devices. If not, you can work around that. That's okay, as long as the employee allows you to put the stuff on their devices. And then the controls are there. And this stuff doesn't invade your life. It's not blocking you from doing stuff or constantly prompting you. If it's set up right, it's seamless.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's a COVID thing, Brian and Ruth, isn't it? Like, I think a lot of retailers just shifted online. Everything 100%. Went remote, manager meetings on Teams or whatever. And just possibly there's a bit more catch up now on a security point of view to get businesses up to speed.
Look, like these things happen, and the drift can happen very quickly. A year flows by very, very easily. So never mind 3 years later, you think you've bought your server 2 years ago, and next thing it's 5 years old, it's about to die, and then it goes down. You wonder how that happened. Only bought that 2 years ago. But the important is there, if you're with a proactive supplier, managed service provider, you're with some proactive, then the likes of Ruth is coming in the door. And they're seeing you at least, twice a year. With our engineers and our line engineers seeing you twice a year, and we're coming to you with the problems ahead of time. And that's the reason why we went into that model, is because we were sick of the reactive world, and we wanted to get into that proactive front foot and stop getting calls from customers going, "Hey, the whole thing's gone down. What's happened?" And I said, "Well, do you know what? If you had done this, then it wouldn't have went down. You go, why didn't you tell me that 6 months ago? I would have done something about it." We hated having those calls. So that's why we created a whole proactive services department within the company that just all they do is trying to find the problems before they become a problem and reduce down the risk. There'll always be risk, but our aim is to reduce it to the little amount as possible, then hand it over to the customer and go, "Here's the knowledge. You pick what you want to do in line with what your business can actually do financially or what your business strategy may be."
Yeah.
So that's how we got into the proactive world.
No, that's super, Brian. And just you said Windows 10 is coming to end of life. When? What was that date?
It's in late October.
Late
I think
October.
somewhere around the 25th.
Okay.
Microsoft had changed the goalpost last year multiple times as to which level of computer like processing power and stuff is what you're allowed to upgrade on.
Right.
But basically
Yeah.
what will happen is if you've got Windows 10 and it can't upgrade, then it won't. And then they won't put down any more security updates for it or feature updates. So what you can do is you can buy a thing called an ESU, which is extended support license. I think it's about 65 quid, and it'll allow, and you have to pay that, and that goes for 3 more years. You pay 65 quid, then 110, then 160.
Right.
But ultimately, guys, the fact of it is, if any device is in that situation, it's at least 5 to 8 years old. It's probably running incredibly slow. It's bringing down your productivity. Get rid of it. There won't be that many. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's our advice on that one. But be ready for it. You know, you'll get a fright because it'll come up on the screen going, this device isn't protected. Get rid, and you'll go, what am I going to do? You're going to scramble. So you've got a month. You can do a lot in a month.
Yeah, and I think that end of October, it's just starting to get into the busy
and
Christmas,
you're getting busy.
Christmas.
Yeah, busy season for retailers, and then you don't want to have to think about swapping out hardware at that time.
Yeah.
Good call, Keaton. Yeah, exactly.
No problem. Thanks, Brian and Ruth. Great presentation.
You're welcome.
Lots
Most
of
welcome.
learning. So I'll share the recording, and when Peter's looking for it, I'll get that out now in the next half an hour to you, Peter, and to everyone else as well. And lots of learnings there. And make sure to reach out to Ruth about the
pen test. Absolutely.
Penetration test. So that'll be great. And thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you all again soon.
Pleasure. Thanks, Keaton.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
folks.
everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.